Hi, Statesmen Nation. We're here with Lauren Eldridge as we preview the 2026 women's volleyball season. Struggling already to obviously talk. So, Coach, before we get into 26, let's talk about 25 season where some ups and downs, some goods, some bads. Just give us a overall review of what you thought the season was.
Yeah, I mean, last season we started out, like, our non-conference play, I think 9-1, 10-1, so one of our best starts in history. And then conference play started, and then kind of went the opposite direction. But that was, we had still a pretty core group. Our culture was really good last year, so that's kind of the big takeaways that we had little to no drama, everybody got along. And then, just going into the spring this last year, like, we had a lot of returners, and so hopefully going into this year, that's going to be a big key piece is having returners on the court.
Definitely. Let's talk about recruiting real quick and what you were looking for to fill in any holes that you felt like you had.
Yeah, recruiting-wise, we didn't have to bring in a ton because we had, that development piece from reserves players stepping up or, maybe somebody that was second in line. But middle was a big position. We graduated, 2 middles that started for us this last year. So hopefully having somebody play a different position this year is something new, but also bringing in a freshman that can compete and play for us there, and brought in, 1 or 2 transfers that can hopefully get some playing time too.
Yep. You guys have already had a few games under your belt, a few matches, playing down at the Our Lady of the Lake tournament last Thursday through Saturday. So let's do a quick recap of that.
Yeah, so we played first 3 games, 5 sets, 5 sets, 4 sets, and then our last game of the week, another 5-setter. Obviously didn't get the wins in those first 3, but our last 5-setter we did. And so we're obviously doing things right, just not all the way through to finish. So, we're at least competing in games. If you're going to extra sets, that means you can win the game.
Yeah.
We had 1 3-setter, but besides that one, like, we could have definitely won for sure the 2 5-setters. Those are just those small things. We only had 7 days of preseason of practicing at home, so that does probably play a little bit of a part into it. We're not completely used to each other, and we tried different lineups every game. So we obviously can do it. We just got to finish and capitalize on big moments.
Yeah. Oh, the good part is it's a long season, right?
Yep.
Excuse me. Weird AR. Let's talk about the roster as I'm coughing up along. Let's break it down. Let's talk about the outside hitters and go from there.
Yeah, so outside, we have Maju coming back for us. She's a senior, second team all-conference player for last year. She had a good weekend this last week as well. And then, like, that OH2 spot is kind of, up for grabs for anybody. We have Emily returning for us, and she's been kind of a utility player for us. She actually played 2 or 3 points in the middle for us this weekend. That's what she started as a freshman. She's played right side, she's played outside. So hopefully we're sticking to that outside position this year, but if needed, she can definitely step into that middle spot, maybe right side if we needed. We have Abby. She was another OH2 for us last year, competing for one of those spots. And then we have a transfer, Aga. She actually played right side for us this weekend compared to playing on the outside, and that's the game that we won, so that might be where maybe she goes to right side instead of outside. And then we have one of our reserves players that got moved up this year, Jenna. Unfortunately, she didn't play this weekend because of an injury. I'm so excited to kind of see when she gets back how she can contribute on the outside. And then going to that middle spot, we have Emma, our freshman, who was one of our top leading scorers this weekend. And that's hard to do as a freshman in middle.
For sure.
And then we have, Callie and Mariah, who are competing for that middle 2 spot. And they both played probably evenly this weekend. And one does good, the other one doesn't do so good, so they kind of balance each other out in there. But they're going to be competing for that second spot. And then on our right side, we have our 2 lefties back. Haley, she's a senior this year, graduating early.
Yep.
She got a lot of playing time. Alex, another lefty, sophomore for us. And she had a really good weekend this week. And then we have Aga, who could potentially compete on that side too. And then we have Maya, transfer from Grandview. That was a really good serving sub for this last week. And lib spot, we got Maddie. First time in that lib jersey can be scary, but, like, you would not have been able to tell. And she was a monster this weekend for us, digging balls left and right. Her stats already look really good going, 5 games in.
Yep.
And we also have Brooklyn, somebody that stepped up for us this year too, and then Isabel's a senior. And then our setting position, we got Courtney, Lou, and Leah, and Courtney was a setter for us last year. We tried a 5-1 this weekend with her. That is the plan or the goal, to hopefully have a 5-1 somewhere with her or Leah. But just some of that, finalizing those big moments and that IQ for that setting position is huge.
Right. Okay, non-conference wise, again, you've already got 1 tournament out of the way. You have UHSP this weekend. You have our home tournament the next weekend, and then I think from there you guys want to have a single, no more non-conference, just built out hard. So let's talk about the non-conference first. How you planned it out, hoping that it's going to prepare you for a pretty strong, hard schedule.
I like playing a lot of stuff away just because we play a lot away in this last couple of years. Like our away games are not our strongest suit. So making sure we're able to do that and traveling a lot, like the Texas trip, like that's a long trip, but we go to Peru State and that's about 4.5, 5 hours on the bus. And the other ones we want to make sure our bodies are capable and we've been there before, not just the first conference game. We're going a 5-hour trip. But this week we see John Brown again, which is who we won against us last week. Playing against other teams that are strong in other conferences too will help us prepare going into conference because our conference, as you know, is really strong.
Stout.
And everybody like played this week besides 2 teams, and I think everybody got a little bit of an upset. Like some teams lost games they shouldn't have, or they beat teams you're like, wait, you didn't do that last year.
Right.
So it's definitely going to be a new conference season too. But yeah, playing at home before we start conference is really nice too, just to get that feeling of having our fans there. Playing a Thursday night game I think is going to be huge too, because hopefully we're the only ones playing, and it's going to be all of our fans and other sports teams.
Definitely. Let's talk about the hard. I mean, you already kind of did, but you have the Big Two, at least how they finished last year. Maybe I guess you could throw Central Methodist in there, but Missouri Baptist, Grandview both had really big years last year. There's a ton of teams kind of there in the middle that any given night, right, those teams are going to finish out the top 8 for the conference tournament or whatever. Where do you figure the Statesmen are going to fall into that?
I think it's almost too early to tell, especially with kind of how this weekend went for us and like the other teams in conference. Like mentioning CMU, like they didn't have the best weekend either, and Grandview got upset, Mobap got upset, and everybody has new teams too. A lot of the bigger teams graduated people last year, as we did too. And like the teams that are maybe on the bottom last year have already beat some decent teams, so it's like we don't know what to expect, which I kind of like that because every game is important. Like the ones on the bottom are still important as the ones at the top. And this year too with our pods, we have Grandview, Peru, and Graceland, so we play those teams twice, but we only play everybody else once, which that one game is going to be important because depending on how it is at the end of the season, that one game could get you from, that 8th spot or that 9th spot, kind of how it was last year. We missed it out by 1 or 2, and we went to a lot of 5 sets or 4 sets that we could have finished out. But I think, we're definitely competing for that middle, if not maybe a little bit higher, if we can figure out the small things still early on in the season. So I'm hoping those small things are something we can fix in practice, over a week or 2. And then once conference play starts, that's when we're playing our best volleyball. So we don't want to be playing our best volleyball quite yet. Because we want to be going up and not just here and then going down. Yeah.
All right, let's throw a bow on it. Talk about the way that you guys are going to reach your goals that you set.
Yeah, something this year that we have like standards this year, and our leadership council has done a really good job of making sure we have those standards already implemented, not just in practice and the games and travel, but like off the court stuff. And they've done a really good job of making sure we're implementing that. And we're doing a dry season this year because we have these goals that we all have, which is, get to a conference championship, get ranked, all these things. But we got to do all these other things first before we get there, and that will take care of it. But we got to compete in practice too. So like we're big on, we're not walking this stuff. And if coach says it one time, like it's not going to be a second time because then we're going to have to run or do punishment or consequence. And why do that if we can just get it right the first time?
Correct. All right. Well, sounds good. Thanks, Coach. Once again, Lauren Eldridge of the women's volleyball team. The team has already started up. They will have their first home match next Thursday against Avila, or the Labor Day tournament following Friday and Saturday. So really busy Labor Day weekend, but we're looking forward to it. Everything for women's volleyball and everything Statesmen Athletics on statesmenathletics.com, as well as WPU Athletics on our social media channels. So thanks, Coach. Best of luck this year.
Thank you.